Caracas, Venezuela. Interesting that I've had a few friends and one of our colleagues who've been to Venezuela recently, and they say they have cleaned up a good amount of the crime. Things have gotten better, and yet you can buy properties at extremely low prices. I mean, gated community properties, large homes, $100,000. And so that's an interesting place to look at. Not saying people should rush and move to Venezuela, but could be a place to keep an eye on. It's one that we are keeping an eye on with a growing team in Latin America. We want to know when that's going to become worthwhile, because if you're living in a gated community, that's a little bit different.
Is Andrew Henderson softening his position regarding Venezuela? Well, today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
Well, if you have followed my platform and channel from a while, you know I'm a big fan of Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. And one thing that I wasn't 100% agreeing with him, I wasn't agreeing with him at all, is regarding Venezuela. Here's what happens. I mean, if you know Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist, you know that he always recommends some exotic places for the Western standards, that like Malaysia, or Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, of course, and also Georgia, and also some places in Asia, and places so kind of, he talks about Nicaragua, places like that. However, since I started following him, I noticed that his opinion regarding Venezuela was not good. He put it on the same, basically on the same category that places like this, Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan, stuff like that, and it's not the case. Everyone that has been in Venezuela knows that it's not the case, even with the dreadful crisis that we had last decade. And I was actually surprised and disappointed about him, because he always gives a positive outlook to unknown places in the world that are beautiful, that are growing, compared to the Western nations, what he calls the legacy brand countries like US and Western Europe and so on. Anyways, however, I started noticing that a couple times. I mean, he's not like he talks about Venezuela often, but a couple times, the last 3 or 4 times that he mentioned Venezuela, he gave a positive outlook regarding the country. Because, and I presume this, he mentioned that now he knows a few people, a few colleagues of him, also some investors, some, of course, internationals, expats, and the 7-8-figure entrepreneurs that he deals with, and that have been in the country. A few of them already purchased real estate and so on, and they love Venezuela. It's way better the situation that he thought. So he has softening his position regarding my country. And I don't know how much he knows really about the country, or he has been on the country. I don't think so. Probably already he will mention it. Sure, eventually he's going to visit Venezuela and see it for himself. Now, the real question is that if you like this kind of a nomad capitalist thing, and you're going to do the same thing, you think that you're going to do the same thing regarding, business and investing, compare, the places that he always mentions, like Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, or TBC, Georgia. Well, it depends. First, the upside of Venezuela is regarding lifestyle. Your lifestyle is going to increase here, most likely, depending who you are, your income, and what are your requirements. But most likely, your standards of living are going to increase, just the income, in order to pay the things. Actually, that's the difficult thing about Venezuela, is that many people, say more than half of Venezuelans, they are having troubles making ends meet because they earn very little compared of a very good standard of living. Afterwards, if you consider purchasing real estate, if you're my client, you have been my client, or I've discussed this a bunch of times, that purchasing real estate in Venezuela is very, very difficult for internationals. For Venezuelans, it's not as difficult, but you have to go through a process. It's not, you can do it like in a week or something. Well, and I have to make another video regarding that, but I'm not going to discuss it today. But anyways, the process is dreadful. It involves a lot of bureaucracy, and a lot of nuances that you have to deal with, also depending on your nationality or where you have residence. It's going to influence a lot how the process is going to be. But yes, you have a bunch of upside regarding if you buy on a nice area, a nice location, so you have to be careful what you're doing. Also, if you're doing a lifestyle purchase, you have to weigh that. I mean, it's not necessarily that the property close to the beach is the one that is going to increase in value, but yes, you have a bunch of upside. I mean, Venezuela is a country on recovery right now, not necessarily on a crisis, so we're just living a crisis right now. And afterwards, so it depends on your strategy, of course, your risk management and your risk tolerance. So it's not like all the money that you have on the bank, we should put it on Venezuelan real estate or anything like that. Venezuela is not, the Venezuelan real estate market is not cryptocurrency, it's not an altcoin, it's not Dogecoin, something Solana, something like that. So you have to be careful of that, but yet you can do interesting things regarding real estate. Now, regarding starting a business, well, a lot of bureaucracy also involving my fellow Venezuelans. The bad thing is that it's a lot of contributions that you have to make in Venezuela. Not necessarily that you have to pay a lot of taxes, but you have to pay a lot of contributions. So it's kind of tricky, keeping everything together. So yes, hiring a nice accountant, a very good accountant on those particular issues. Afterwards, after the legal situation, also depends on what do you provide, which service do you provide, is something that you're going to provide to the rest of the world or just in Venezuela, so depending on that particular thing. And also if it's an offshore international business that you are providing value to offshore people or just within the country. So depending on the structure that you want to do, it's not easy to make business in Venezuela. However, it has a lot of upside and also a good profit margins. That's the other side of the coin. What I hear about many, the small, mid-sized business owners here in the country is that you have, that's the good side about doing business in Venezuela, you have good profit margins, but dealing with the taxes and bureaucracy and so on is dreadful. But also the market share, if you want you need a country, if you want a country that you can create easily, market share might be Venezuela. There is less competition than, of course, other countries in Latin America, and let alone countries in Western Europe or Southeast Asia. Okay, lastly, if you are the kind of crowd that you deal with these nomad capitalist teams, the 7-figure entrepreneur and investor, and you're looking to maybe do something on the country, I mean, what I suggest is travel to the country. Most likely, you already have a passport that allows you to grant you visa-free travel to Venezuela. Around, I'll say, the rule of thumb is half of the passports of the world can enter visa-free to Venezuela, and the other half can. And the ones that they cannot enter usually are countries that are poorer regarding GDP per capita, something of that nature. That's kind of the rule of thumb. Of course, you have to go case by case. The issue is with Canadians, U.S. citizens, for a political thing, and other nationalities in Latin America that the Venezuelan government applied reciprocity. Those particular countries, talking about Peru, Chile, Panama, they require visa, a tourist visa in order to come to Venezuela, since they require visa for Venezuelans in order to enter their country. So it's a reciprocity. From the rest, usually low GDP per capita countries, low income countries like, sub-Saharan African countries or some Asian countries, the poorer countries in Asia, something. Those are the ones that they require a visa in order to travel to the country. Afterwards, you can stay 90 days visa-free. You can extend those 90 days for another extra 90 days. You have to go through a process and wait if you are approved. Most likely, depending on who you are, you're gonna be approved. It's not a certainty, but it's a great probability, depending on the country of residence and citizenship and all that kind of stuff. And afterwards, you can, if you like what you see in the country, you can establish a strategy Also, Andrew mentions the trifecta method, the trifecta approach, when you have three or more different bases all over the world. Venezuela actually can be very fun. If you try that, if you need a Caribbean, Latin American base, also with a very particular geographic location, that is excellent. You can travel elsewhere. Or let's say if you like Colombia, Colombia is one of your favorite bases on your trifecta, but you already got tired of Colombia. Many of my clients that happened to them. They got tired of Colombia. They love it, but got a new word about Colombia, so they went different. And the next best thing in order to get the Colombian experience is actually Venezuela. And both Colombia and Venezuela doesn't look like anything else in the world, even in Latin America. So you can do the trifecta approach here. There are mechanisms and strategies. Of course, you have to deal with a bunch of bureaucracy, but you can be a pioneer. You can be a contrarian investor if you try out Venezuela. So depends up to you. Of course, go little by little, and maybe Venezuela can have something valuable for you.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.